Thanks for checking into the State of Basketball podcast, episode 23. I'm Adam Miller, and I'm here with Jaron Will each and every week, and we're going to be bringing you the news and notes on all 11 Division I schools in the state of Indiana, because in 49 states,
it's just basketball.
So we are back. I apologize on the behalf of being a day late. We're doing remote at the current time, and went up to the office to get my computer on, fired up, get everything ready, get ready to go live, and it just wouldn't go. It would not turn on. So brought out the laptop, wasn't working, and so now we're on option, I guess, C tonight. Seems to be working fine. So if I cut out at any point, I apologize. But things are going smooth as of right now, so fingers crossed. So we're a day late, but that gives us time to kind of, reflect a little bit. So this past weekend, this past weekend we saw the Sweet 16 and the Elite 8 and had some really, really good games. So we're going to break down the Sweet 16, the Elite 8, and we'll talk a little bit about the CBI because that tournament ended. Indiana teams were playing in that. The CIT, there was an Indiana team playing in that, and the NIT. So a lot of Indiana teams played this week, comparatively to the rest of the nation, I guess, because not many teams are left, but there are still 2 Indiana teams standing. So that is huge. So where do you want to go first, Jaron? You want to get through the tournaments that are over before we jump into the ones that are still going?
Yeah, let's talk about our Indiana team because at our core, right, we are an Indiana basketball podcast.
Exactly.
So I know that the season came to an end for several of the teams, like you said, but I want to talk about them. I want to highlight them first because that's the core of our audience, the core of what we do as a show. I think that's a great place to start.
Yeah, so I guess we'll talk about Evansville. They played in the CBI. I think this was the quarterfinals. They won their first round game. And forgive me, I do not remember who they played in the first round.
I can pull
Quinnipiac, that's who it was.
Yep,
they won by 1. And they needed one more win to guarantee a 500 season, and they ended up falling to Seattle in the CBI tournament, and they lost that game 71-57. And, just unfortunate. They finished the season 17-18. We'll obviously do, whole breakdown of the season, but just tough to see them go out that way. Obviously would have liked to have seen them get, to at least 500. Last year they were 5-27 though. So
a little bit of improvement.
Much improved.
Yep.
So I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to, a lot of the Evansville stuff that I have is more kind of some transfer portal things, and we can talk about that.
Yeah, I think once the tournament ends, we'll really get into talking about the transfer portal, anything off-season related. Obviously, some of that stuff hasn't started for a few of our schools, right?
Right.
Not much from Indiana State, nothing from Purdue, just because they're still playing. So I think that's a good place to start after the tournament. It'll be our first kind of episode afterwards.
Do you have anything on Evansville and the CBI? I actually don't recall who won the CBI.
I don't know either, to be completely honest with you.
But it's just nice that obviously the tournament didn't end how we wanted it to for the Aces, but it's nice to see that a team like Evansville, who's kind of on the cusp of being a 500 team, is getting a nod and a look in the CBI. Getting that postseason tournament because they're not going to make, they're not an NIT level team, so it's like, okay, is our season done? And then they get to play in the CBI, which was, I thought, pretty nice for them.
Yeah, and I think it's great for Coach Ragland too in his first season that he's already shown that he's taken teams to a postseason tournament situation. I think is good for him. and anyone that's an Evansville fan, there's a lot of optimism behind it for sure.
Hmm. And I do actually have, so, you know, kind of silver lining here is Seattle won the whole thing. So if you want to lose to anyone, you want to lose to the team
To the
who won the
winner.
whole thing. So
Yep.
yeah. And then the other one that we had playing was Purdue Fort Wayne was playing in the CIT. What's that, College Insider Tournament?
I think so.
They
Yeah.
lost to Norfolk State 75-67. They were up for most, if not all, of the first half, and then kind of gave up a lead late. We've seen that happen a couple of times with this team. They're like up, and usually it's like a big lead that they just like can't convert offensively. The other team locks in, and something happens down the stretch. But kind of happened in this game. I mean, Norfolk State was playing at home. Like, this is, Norfolk State got to play at home. Indiana didn't have to travel.
Game.
Yeah, didn't have to travel. Indiana State had, or not Indiana State, Purdue Fort Wayne had to travel from, where was their last game?
It was
somewhere
Tarleton State. It was in Texas.
Yeah, so
they had to go to Texas to Virginia.
Yeah, so very, very far. I mean, like
in 2 days,
over 1,000 miles of travel. So not a great draw. I mean, you can, I don't know that you could say they lost because they were tired, but it definitely does play a factor, in my opinion. So,
I mean, we saw it 2 years ago with, or was it? Yeah, I think 2 years ago with Indiana. Right?
Yeah, when
in the NCAA tournament when they played the play-in game
and
in
Spokane, Portland.
Yeah,
they played. Yeah, so not saying that like. I'm not, I don't know what Coach Kaufman said, but I mean, you can tell like, their legs were giving out, a little bit, and you seemed a little tired. And so it's kind of an unfair shake. I would like to see that kind of be maybe some sort of neutral site, give an extra day or something, spread it out a little bit more, because like that travel is not conducive to this. And it's kind of, I mean, unfair if you're having a team who's not playing at home.
Yeah. I mean, Norfolk State, they had a bye to start the CIT. They played at home against Alabama A&M, had 4 days rest to then play at home against Purdue Fort Wayne. And I mean, that game, like you said, like Purdue Fort Wayne led the entire first half. They were up. They took a 10-point lead into half, and then really just about at the 9:40 mark in the second half is when it just kind of switched over into Norfolk State's favor. And it was just all them from there.
That like fourth quarter, I mean, that to me says, you're tired.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. I mean, they got outscored 26-44 in the second half.
So that's rough, but talking about like Indiana State, or not Indiana, I keep saying Indiana State. Talking about Purdue Fort Wayne, jumping the gun. Talking about Purdue Fort Wayne, this was what they thought would be a rebuilding year. You replace all 5 starters. Everyone, if they don't, we haven't had any transfers come out from Purdue Fort Wayne yet, I believe, and that says a lot about Coach Kaufman so far. You could still see a transfer too. Obviously, it's never out of the question, but that says a lot about Coach Kaufman. I think the only person they're losing is Anthony Roberts. I mean, he's scored 2,000 points in his career, maybe, and he's done because he's out of eligibility. Like, he just cannot come back.
Right.
So that's, positive to say, like, okay, they won 24 games. I've got it right here.
23. They were 23-13.
Yeah. So huge to get to that win mark. And, return 4 of your 5 starters next year, should be able to build that and be competing, in the Horizon League. So anything else on the CIT or PFW? Obviously, Norfolk State is the winner because this was in the finals.
Yep. No, nothing there. I think it's, again, they played in the championship. That's
important.
It's important. It's great for the Dons moving forward. They know what that feels like.
And then our last one that's not the NCAA tournament is the NIT. So Indiana State was a 1 seed in the NIT, and they sorry. So Indiana State was a 1 seed in the NIT, and they played SMU in the first round and
Yep.
won, and then they beat, I'm failing on the second one, Minnesota in the second round
Minnesota. Yep. There you go.
at home, and so they got 2 home games, and the next game was against Cincinnati. That was at home in the Holman Center, and they won that last week. So that was the one game that was last week for us, 85-81. So that's 2 wins over a power conference team, and I guess almost 3 because SMU is going to be moving to the ACC. So
Count it.
almost a power,
Count it.
they're close to a power conference team.
Yeah.
So huge wins for them. Now they get to go to, up the road to Hinkle Fieldhouse. That's in Indianapolis where Butler plays. They're favored by 1, and they're playing Utah. So Utah, that's going to be a tough game. All these games in the NIT are
I
tough.
actually think that they're 1-point dogs is what I saw
On the betting markets. Okay, I was using
sorry.
line.
No, I'm looking at, this is interesting. So, I talked about it a little bit before we started. So I'm looking at, I have Evan Mia up, just because I've become kind of partial to his metrics. The Evan Mia line is Indiana State plus 1.1. The Vegas line is Indiana State minus 2.5.
That's
so
large. That's 2.5 is a lot.
Yeah, 2.5 to 1. Like, that's a 3-point swing when you look at metrics versus Vegas odds. I do lean towards the Vegas odds in that, being I do think that they're the better team there.
And it's a semi-home game for them.
Yeah. And like Aiden said in the chat, there's a rumor that the Birdman himself is going to be sitting courtside.
Okay. I don't know. I didn't know what to make of that because it's April Fool's Day.
I know.
Like, I just can't. You just can't listen to anything today. It's unfortunate.
Yeah, but still, I mean, even if there's a chance, right?
Yeah,
like,
that'd be awesome.
I don't think it's out of the question. Like, he's Indy a lot, but
yeah, I mean, I think he'd like to be there. He says he's serious. I saw that on Twitter too. I just want to, I'm just skeptical. I will be in attendance for this game.
Yep, we got gifted tickets. The show did.
Yeah, so we were gifted some tickets.
I have a broken back and unable to make the journey south.
Yeah, so I will report back. Won't be able to make the finals, unfortunately, but we'll be headed to the semifinal game. So I will, if I can see Larry Bird from the nosebleeds, I will let you know. But if you see him in the stands on the broadcast, text me, let me know. Yep. So, I mean, this game is, important. I think, like, if there was ever a year to have the NIT in Hinkle Fieldhouse, this is the perfect year. Yep. My goodness.
Yeah.
Like, very fortunate that Indiana State gets to play there. It would be incredible if they could win this whole thing. And I mean, why not? Let's do it.
Prove the world. There's been a lot of smoke being blown, especially over the last few weeks, that the Indiana State should have been a tournament team, and we've been saying it for since Selection Sunday that they should have been a tournament team.
Yeah,
and I think that if they go out and win the whole dang thing, that helps solidify that.
Yeah. So hopefully there'll be a lot of eyes on this game. I don't know how many people actually watch the NIT, but I feel like Indiana State was America's team, and then it was Oakland, and then but Indiana State was America's team at one point. So hopefully people are still cheering for them.
And I mean, even the 4 teams left, right? Indiana State, Utah, then Seton Hall, Georgia. I think realistically, I would love to see an Indiana State Seton Hall championship, just because I think that's the best for college basketball, at least for the NIT. Just because Seton Hall, again, is another team that should have probably been.
Yeah, was definitely on the bubble, very close.
Yeah, so I do think if both those teams are playing in the championship, there's going to be a lot of people watching.
Mm-hmm. And if it's Georgia and you win, just tell people that Indiana State beat Georgia for a national championship, and don't say any more details.
Yep.
So we'll report back on those. We'll probably talk about I guess we'll be live probably next Sunday. So next Sunday, I guess we'll be talking about after the Final Four before the national championship game. So let's talk about the NCAA tournament. Let's go through um, this weekend. So Thursday and Friday was the Sweet 16, and then Friday or Saturday, Sunday was the Elite Eight.
Yep.
And
so
yeah, go ahead.
all right, I was gonna say, do we want to just go through all the Sweet 16 games, or do
Let's just do region by region to the
Sweet 16 Elite Eight? Yep.
To the Final Four.
I think that makes the most sense.
So let's start in the East region. That UConn played San Diego State, and I mean, there's nothing else to say other than UConn played exactly how UConn is playing. Been playing this whole tournament. They won by 30.
Yep.
Okay.
I mean, they're good.
Yeah, incredible.
They're good.
And then in the other game, Illinois played Iowa State.
And a really close game.
Yeah, 72-69. This is a game that I had Iowa State winning when I filled out my bracket. I had them playing each other in like one of my brackets. This was one of the what I thought would be one of the more fascinating games.
Number one defense versus
number
one offense.
Number one, number two offense.
I guess, I think Iowa State technically was the number 2 defense, but still, like a top 5 defense versus a top 5 offense.
Yeah, it's always interesting to see who wins that matchup. I mean, Illinois scored 72 on them. Pretty impressive. But they won. Like Illinois won. Terrence Shannon had like another 30 burger or something.
Yeah, Terrence Shannon was Terrence Shannoning.
Yeah, just went off. And so it's like, okay, you after that game, you're looking at that and you're like, can this team like compete with UConn? Like, seriously wondering, like, can they compete with UConn?
Again, because UConn's defense on paper is like they're barely, I think they're number 8 defense, something like that. So not nearly as good of a defense as Iowa State.
Right.
On paper.
Obviously a better offense than Iowa State, but it's like if Terrence Shannon can play how he has since the postseason started, like it's going to be a really, really good game. And then the Elite Eight game between UConn and Illinois started, and it was pretty back and forth for the first half. Like it was 25-23. No, 20.
I think it was 20. I think it was
28-23 at halftime.
I thought it was tied at no, you're right.
No, so it was tied 23-23, and then UConn goes on a 5-0 run
to end the half.
And to end the half, and you're like, okay, like that's pretty crazy. Like Marcus Damask is keeping this Illinois team in here. Terrence Shannon is a non-factor, and then the second half starts, and UConn goes on a 25-0 run in the second half to complete a 30-0 run, and it was like, oh, like no. They can't compete. Like they cannot compete. I don't know.
And the thing is like UConn was not playing their A game. From what I saw,
they shot horribly from 3.
Well, and I will say there's a lot of rumors going around about how the basketballs in Brooklyn, I think is where they were playing. Were overinflated. An overinflated basketball has an impact on ball flight, on the bounce itself. It bounces a little more, and we saw a lot of guys were misdribbling balls that they wouldn't normally misdribble. A lot of missed threes, a lot of missed long threes, which takes into account the added air pressure in the ball. Alex Caravan today came out and said, "Yeah, the balls just did not seem right.
They felt weird."
Yeah, and so that kind of solidifies and verifies that rumor that was going around and speculation. And we saw it with the 3-point shooting. Like you just mentioned, they did not shoot well from 3 really at all in the last few games that they played.
Yeah, I mean, you play San Diego State, you don't expect to shoot super well from 3, but they still dominated them. They didn't shoot well from 3. I guess we buried the lead. They won. UConn won 77-52.
Yep. I thought we had said that.
So just absolutely dominated them in the second half, and like, just completely flipped it. I don't know what he said at halftime, but it obviously worked. I mean, this team is just...
And Clingan was just...
ungodly.
I texted you, and I was like, we might see a triple double with blocks. I think he
Yeah.
finished. I think he only finished with like 6 blocks,
Yeah.
but still, he was disrupting every
It
shot.
was interesting because I think they tried a strategy that I think that they like to try with like Zach Edey, where like, you just attack him,
Yep.
and like try and get him to foul, and it did not work. I mean, you had that Brad Underwood quote from one of the media timeouts where he was like, we're just going to keep attacking him. If he blocks 100, he blocks 100, and he tried. Like
Yeah.
he tried.
Yeah.
So
It was just they were playing on another level, and they weren't even playing up to their level. Really,
if they shoot normal, like their normal 3-point like
I don't think
percentage,
anyone can
like
beat them.
they, I don't think anyone can beat them, even if they play how they played without the 3-point. Like they, to beat UConn, you have to play your A+ game, no matter who
Yep.
you are, and they have to
Yep.
have like a B- game at best. Like
Right. Yeah.
it depending on what team you are. So UConn's headed to the Final Four again, back-to-back years. Probably the best UConn team ever. I think analytically it is,
I haven't
which
gone back and like looked,
is
but
incredible. I mean, if you think
to
about it,
the
like all
eye,
the
I
times that
I
they
test
won,
100%.
yeah, well, all the times that they won like the national championship, they were like not that great.
No,
Like the Kemba year, they were not that great. Kemba was just ungodly.
he just yeah.
Last year they were obviously really good, obviously.
Right.
But
Right.
this team feels like even better, and they've been
Yeah.
proving it with the score.
Yeah.
So let's go down to the West region.
Yep. So we had a North Carolina versus Alabama Sweet 16 game. North Carolina lost. It was 89-87. Alabama just played phenomenally. I mean, if you're North Carolina, you're usually not gonna win a game if your best 3-point shooter goes 0 for 9, and RJ Davis, and that's what happened.
Yeah, he goes 0 for 9, dude, is extremely
Rare,
rough.
rare, rough. Yeah, depending on how you want to look at it. It was just not a pretty game from North Carolina.
Mhm.
I mean, they still put up 87, but that's, I mean, you add in 1-3. If RJ makes one of his shots,
Yeah.
that's
And like
the game.
talk about I mean, this is his last game. Talk about the absolute worst time to have an absolute stinker.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
oh,
And I mean, the same thing happened in the Clemson Arizona game. If you're ready to talk about that one.
yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, I mean, Clemson, the 6th seed, beat Arizona, the 2 seed. Arizona has been a great team all year, right? They were, I think, one of the favorites coming out of this region. And, they lost by 5, 77-72. Don't remember if I had already said that. But Caleb Love, a guy you need to make shots, their best 3-point shooter, 0 for 9.
Yeah.
Like, it was just the. That's just a way you don't want to lose, right? Like you've got two teams, the 1 seed and the 2 seed, their best 3-point shooters just they go combined 0 for 18.
Mhm.
Um,
And then you've got the storyline that they were backcourt mates a year ago.
right.
So
Right.
like, I don't know, there was some sort of voodoo in this tournament,
The
like
basketball gods just
to
were
make them
not.
like not. They were like not. Oh, so like they were. I guess if North Carolina won and Arizona won, then Caleb Love and RJ Davis were going to be playing each other,
Yep.
and it was going to be insane. And then North Carolina loses. RJ Davis goes 0 for 9. And like the basketball gods were like, and guess what? You too to Caleb Love. So
Yeah. It was definitely not like you just don't expect it, right? You don't expect guys who shoot that proficiently
mhm,
to shoot that poorly.
mhm. And Caleb Love's streaky, but I mean, like he's a guy
Not
who's
that streaky. Like
yeah, he doesn't go 0 for 9, but
he usually gets one to fall, right? Like
yeah,
he figures it out. And then going into the Elite Eight game, we had Alabama against Clemson, and again, it was just
Alabama made like 13 threes. I mean, this is
yeah,
the same thing. Alabama, we've said from the very beginning that Alabama can beat anybody, but they can lose to anybody. If their shots are falling, they're probably going to beat you. And their shots were falling. I mean, they shot like 30 plus threes in this game. They made 13 of them. I mean, that's just exactly how Nate Oates wants his team to play. And Clemson just didn't have enough. I mean, they tried, like, they were very close. Like, it was a 7-point game, but it was a good game. So, I mean, like, the Elite Eight games all delivered
Yeah,
for
yeah.
every game except the one that didn't delivered in a different way. The UConn way delivered, like, just so
Storyline.
outworldly
Yeah,
impressive that
yeah.
you're like, okay, that was incredible.
But I mean, the thing that I didn't know until watching the Alabama Clemson game is Brunell, the Clemson head coach, is from Evansville.
Yep.
I didn't realize that going into the game. They talked about it on the broadcast, like right when the game was tipping off. They were just talking about it. So I was obviously, once I found that out, I was pulling for Clemson. Plus, also it's Bama, so like I personally am going to root against Bama in most
You
cases.
never wanna have to choose between Clemson and Alabama, though. Like, I know it's basketball, so it feels a little different, but, like, Clemson,
Yeah,
Alabama is just a weird thing to you telling me you don't usually talk about Clemson versus Alabama in March,
no, that's usually like a
January.
December.
Yeah. Yeah, bowl game.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but now Alabama goes on to face UConn, and that's a fascinating matchup because if Alabama's playing well and they're hitting their threes, like, if they can hit 12 or more threes, I think that the game could be close. But UConn's gonna do everything in their power. I mean, like,
they're going to force Alabama inside.
yeah, I mean,
They're going to try
it's
at least,
it
and that's scary because that's what you don't want to do against UConn.
yeah, it's hard to after seeing the last 4 games, it's hard for me to imagine, even though it's Alabama, like, it's hard to imagine UConn not winning also by 30 still.
Yeah, I mean Alabama's defense is not good,
Yeah, they don't guard anybody.
so they're almost worse than Kentucky's defense. Um, but yeah, I think that'll be a fun game because of just the two different styles of play that they have.
Mhm.
Uh,
I would expect,
I expect UConn to
Klingon to be dominant, and I
handle it.
expect UConn
Yeah,
to be dominant, yeah.
yeah.
Let's go to the South region. So, Duke in the Elite Eight makes or the Sweet 16 makes it past Houston with Jamal Shed going down with an injury,
He got hurt in like the first
and
2 minutes of the game.
yeah, so, like, yeah, I mean, that's what it was. I mean, they beat Houston
Houston's
by
not Houston
3.
without Jamal Shed.
No,
Like
I
I
mean,
think
he
that's what
is
it.
the most important player on that team.
Yeah,
You know, probably the best defensive player best defensive player in the country, you know,
yeah,
just you
yeah.
have to have him.
You do, and I mean Houston fought like they fought without him, and even Kelvin Sampson said it. He was like, "Yeah, we can't use that as an excuse because we fought. They fought to the end. They just didn't, you know,
Yeah,
didn't
just I
close."
mean, that's tough. I mean, that's tough. I mean, the Duke is good. Like,
Yeah, they're. I mean this Duke team, I did not. I thought they were going to lose to Vermont.
I thought they were going to lose to James Madison. I was very wrong on that.
Well, yeah,
But
yeah, yeah. But
I definitely didn't expect them losing to Houston, but I also
yeah, I
didn't
didn't.
expect Jamal Shed to be injured.
Yeah, I just didn't think they were going to make it this far in general because they weren't. I didn't think they were super impressive in the regular season. Like they just kind of
No.
existed.
Yeah.
Obviously, they
Like
made the
they
tournament. They
weren't
were good enough
terrible,
to
but
make
they
the
weren't
tournament to
great.
be a 4 seed. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Like this is it's not what you expect out of Duke, but once March hit, it was, oh, okay, this is Duke basketball.
Well, they played 13 Vermont and a 12 James Madison.
And what some people are saying are a like 15 Houston without Jamal Shed.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
so,
but still,
a number 1 Houston without their best player, like,
yeah, yeah.
so a pretty favorable draw,
I
but,
will give them that. They did have a kind of a cakewalk um, when you
although,
consider
like,
Houston playing
you
out their best
expect
player.
that James Madison game to not be because of how they dominated Wisconsin, but then they absolutely did not do any of the things they did against Wisconsin against Duke.
Yeah,
But we
yeah.
digress. So another, ACC team was down in the Sweet 16 there, was NC State, an 11 seed, and they're playing Marquette. They played Marquette in the Sweet 16, and they won 67-58. Dude, just NC State, America's team. I
I
mean,
mean, they
in
are,
this
yeah.
tournament,
I mean, I think DJ Burns is America's player right now. Like
Yeah.
he's just the most lovable guy in the tournament, I think, at this point. And
He heard
yeah,
people were focused on, you know, some premium crackers, and he was like, "Nope, it's my time."
yep.
He's so fun to watch. I love watching him
I
play.
I love him. I mean he's getting there's people like from the NFL who are like, get this kid out of pro day.
Really?
Yeah, people were saying like there are scouts and GMs who, if he goes to a pro day workout after the Final Four, like would consider drafting him to
Huh.
being like an offensive lineman.
That'd be incredible. What a story that would be, dude.
Yeah, like he's on draft boards, just not NBA draft boards.
Mhm.
But I mean, it wouldn't be the first time a basketball player got drafted. Uh, I know Ball State when I was in like 2017. I think one of their players, Franco House, got drafted
Nice.
after not having played football in college at all. But
Um, my memory is hazy on this Marquette game, but, I don't know. I mean, surprising to me that they lost to NC State. Not like not because I
yeah,
didn't think NC State was gonna make it this far, which I mean, I
I
guess
mean,
I
it didn't,
didn't, but,
but
like, I just expected Marquette to be fine, but, like, NC State just, like, jumped on them like, right
yep,
from the get-go and just, like, never let up. Like, they jumped out to a lead, and that was that.
yeah. I mean, and they built. I mean, this NC State team is just their story is incredible, right? Like Keats was it going to get fired
Yeah.
at the end of the season? He won the AC tournament, which guaranteed 2 more years on his contract,
Mhm.
and then now he's playing in the Final Four.
Yeah,
Like,
it's incredible. I mean,
talk about a
he and
story.
Brad Brownell were both on the hot seat, and they're
Yeah,
both off the hot seat now. Uh,
easily. That's cold as can be.
yeah.
Uh,
And they did so then, I guess in the Elite 8, NC State, still 11 seed, NC State beat number 4 seed Duke, 76-64. Just handled them. Filipowski got in foul trouble.
yeah. I mean, it was.
Just
I
awesome to see.
Yeah, like I love this. I'm all in on this NC State team, and yeah, I mean, I think they're just destroying everyone's brackets. My
Mhm.
bracket's already
And they
destroyed.
took out Duke, and then an in-state rival,
Yep, and
like
America's most hated team
yeah,
usually.
yeah.
Uh, so well, I guess the most hated team outside of the state of Carolina, North Carolina. Um, but still, yeah, like it's great. But
Um, I saw a stat. I don't know if it's a stat, a fact, that so they won. So NC State won 5 games in the ACC tournament, and they've now won 4 games in the NCAA tournament. So that's 9 games. If you bet $100 on their first game in the ACC tournament, and then just bet your winnings on them to win the next game, you would have $720,000. Isn't that absurd?
that's wild.
That's just insane. Yeah, I turned $100 into $720,000 by making 9 horrible bets in a row. So, if someone did that, like, more power to them, but,
Yeah, yeah.
let's talk about the Midwest.
Midwest. Let's start at the bottom. Let's talk about the Creighton, number 3 Creighton versus number 2 Tennessee. Uh, this is a matchup. I really like this Creighton team. I think that they, on paper, I mean, they're just so athletic. Their guards are incredible, and like down low, like
They got a center who can kinda stretch the floor a little bit,
yeah, yeah.
pretty,
But
great rim protector.
Kalkbrenner, I mean, like you said, Kalkbrenner's great. They've got a great coach. I think McDermott's one of my favorite coaches in
Mhm.
college basketball, and they lost by 7 to Tennessee, who also has a top 10 coach.
Yeah,
And also Tennessee is just incredibly defensively, like that's just their bread and butter.
and has a
Um,
first team All-American.
they have a certified exciting white,
Yeah. A walking bucket for sure.
a walking bucket, and Dalton Connect. Um, but yeah, I mean, Tennessee handled business, and moved on to the Elite Eight to play Purdue,
Mm-hmm.
who I mean, this Gonzaga game, right? Like we knew Purdue beat Gonzaga earlier in the
Already in
season.
Maui by like
Yeah,
6 or something,
I think
10
so.
maybe.
I think so. But it was a Gonzaga team that wasn't playing the way that they're playing at the end of the season.
Yeah, they were still
Purdue
gelling.
also was a team that wasn't playing the way that they were at the beginning of the season. So like, it's a completely different game, right? Like, yeah, Purdue went into this game. Obviously, they have a chip on their shoulder this entire tournament, but it was like it was comparing apples to oranges when you think about the Maui matchup versus now.
Yeah, like how much can we really take from this? Like what is even this going to be like?
And Purdue just dominated. Like I think there were some scary parts in the first half where
it like started out and not UConn, Gonzaga like jumped out to a lead pretty early, and you saw some like concerning things.
Yeah.
Like Graham Ike hit like 2 threes in this game, and he's attempted like 6 all year, and or he's made 6 all year or something, and 3 or 4 of them were against Purdue, 2 in this game and like 1 or 2 in their Maui game. So it was like, oh no. Like, kind of scary at the beginning. And then I mean, who was it? Was this the Trey Kaufman-Renn game, or was that Utah State?
No, that was Utah State.
Okay. Just Zach Edey, Braden Smith. Braden Smith had like 15 assists in this game. Like he had 8 rebounds, I think. He was like 2 rebounds away from a triple double.
Yeah.
14 points, 15 assists, I think, and 8 rebounds.
Yep.
I mean,
Zach Edey.
That's all it takes to win. Like that and Zach Edey.
Yeah. I mean, Zach Edey had 27 and 14. And Zach Edey did have 2 fouls. He picked up 2 fouls, I think, pretty early on. And it was like that was a concern, right? It was like, okay, if Edey is fouling, then we need to figure something out. And they did. And they won. Like,
yeah, like I mean, it was not as close as 12 in the end, you know, like
yeah. I mean,
they were going away with it.
EK fouled out.
2 guys
Watson
foul out, I think.
Out. Yep. And then Ben Gregg had 3 fouls as well. So it was just they handled business. That's like we would expect from Purdue. And then they went on to play Tennessee, which was another game they played in Maui. Another team they played from Maui where there were like 45, 50 fouls in Maui. I think it was pretty similar in that game. Tennessee really took them to the end. Like they needed all 40 minutes. They being Purdue needed all 40 minutes to beat Tennessee. And, you know, like you said, I mean, Edey had the best game of his career. He had 40 points, which is a career high, 16 boards. He was 14 for 22 at the free throw line. Didn't foul. I mean, Fletcher Lawyer had 3 flat fouls, but no one else had more than 2. My concern in this game, I mean, Mason Gillis put up a goose egg. He played 26 minutes, 0 points. Didn't matter, but that
Trey
was
Kaufman-Renn picked up 2 quick ones too. And
yes, he sat a good. He only played 14 total minutes.
Yeah, I remember he picked up the 2 quick fouls, and I was like, honestly, this might be fine because you have Mason Gillis who's going to stretch the floor. And I mean, Mason Gillis, you know, was more of a hard-nosed like hustle player in this game. As opposed to like, you know, that's what he always is, but like he didn't add the 3-point shot making, which he, you know, does, which is a very, very nice thing that he adds because he shoots it so well.
Yeah, I mean, he missed 2 wide open threes from the corner, which you don't expect from Gillis. And when that happened, in my head, I was like, oh, this is not good.
Yeah.
I mean, Purdue made 3 threes. That's it.
Yep, and still ended up winning by 6, which is super impressive. I mean, 40 points, over half your points from Edey helps.
Yep. Yeah.
But like coming down the stretch, I felt like you could see the nerves because obviously Purdue has not been to the Final Four since 1980. So it's been 44 years. You've had like, you know, you've had teams that could have done it. 2019 was, you know, literally a buzzer beater away from going to the Final Four. You had, you know, Robbie Hummel's entire career of, you know, could have made a Final Four run and just derailed by injuries. They've just had so much bad luck. The was the Matt Harms year in 2018, or not Matt Harms, the Isaac Haas year where he breaks his
Broke his
elbow.
arm. Because that's when they came up with the hook and hold.
Yeah, and so, just so much bad luck, and down the stretch, like it's getting close, and Purdue pulls away a little bit, but then things get a little dicey. Like
Well,
Tennessee was starting to foul, put the pressure on. Braden Smith was giving the ball away real quick to people. I was like, oh no. Like I don't think he scored in the second half. He was facilitating, but I don't think he scored in the second half. And Edey goes to the line at one point, misses a free throw, and airballs a second free throw. And I was like, no, like no, not like this, not like this.
Well, in the first half, I'm in a group text with two of my buddies who are huge Purdue fans, and after Gillis missed his second three in the first half, one of them texted like, "We're getting good looks," and the other one's like, "Yeah, we got to start hitting them though." Then I responded, "And not let Connect drop 40."
Yeah,
that was in my head. I was like, if Connect drops 40, Purdue loses. Connect did not drop 40; he had 37.
And
so
like down the stretch too, I think it was the biggest thing that we were harping on this team is like Lance Jones is the difference maker. Like,
yep.
Edey's obviously better, the guards are better, but like Lance Jones is the difference maker on this team.
And Lawyer even said it. He said that he's in the post game. He told Lance Jones that. He was like, "You are the difference maker for us. Like you're the difference in last year and this year."
He hit. Obviously they shot horribly all night, but he hit that incredibly huge three coming down the stretch, and I think it might have been the next play or maybe two plays after that where Connect goes to the rim, and Edey has like the block of the tournament on there.
Yeah. And
just,
I think
sends it down, and
that's what turned the tide.
Yep, like that was like when you see this, like the three was like, okay, this is we've got this, right? And then you see the shot get blocked, and you're like, okay, we did it. So Purdue, you're going to the Final Four for the first time since 1980. You've got
a double-digit
You've got to play NC State. And this is a game that you can't look over. Obviously, Matt Painter's not an idiot. He's not going to look over NC State and be like, "No, I made it to the Final Four. I'm just going to think about the national championship game." He's not a moron.
Yeah.
So, they're going to take NC State absolutely so seriously. But if you can get past, this team that's won, what is it now? 9 straight. 5 and then 4. If you beat this team that's won 9 straight, you're playing against UConn, and that is what that it feels almost inevitable at this point.
Yeah, that's what America wants. It's what America's been saying. Like everyone's been saying, oh, UConn's better. Oh, Purdue's better. No one really knows. I mean, there's not like the metrics can only tell you so much.
Right.
And
it's like Purdue has better wins. UConn has better numbers. Like UConn's been beaten everyone by 1 million points in the tournament. Well, Purdue did for the first 2 rounds. And it feels like the 2021 year where we had Baylor and Gonzaga play in the national championship, and they were supposed to play earlier that season, but it got canceled because of COVID. They were supposed to play in Indy, and it's just like knew, even though UCLA took Gonzaga to overtime, you just felt like it was going to be Gonzaga and Baylor, and it was. I just hope it doesn't end up that way, because Baylor was the better team. They lost a couple of games going in, but Gonzaga was Baylor was coming off COVID, and when they ended up playing, Baylor just jumped on them, beat them like 15 points or something, whatever it was. I just hope that's not the way that this game goes. I don't think that Zach Edey's going to let it go that way, but he's going to have his toughest matchup of the year.
I'd say of his career.
Probably, because most of the time he dominated, like Trace Jackson Davis.
Yeah, those two went back and forth quite a bit, but they just play a different style.
I don't think he's Zach Edey, but I don't think he's played a person like Donovan Clingan, who's almost his same size and extremely skilled too.
Yeah.
He's played 7-footers before, of course, but they were not to the level of Donovan Clingan.
Right. I do want to talk about these two Final Four matchups. Obviously, we both kind of said we're pretty confident it'll be UConn Purdue playing in the final. But looking at I just want to talk through like the lines and stuff. So UConn playing Alabama. Vegas has them at 11.5. Has UConn minus 11.5. Metrics have it at minus 13.2. So that feels right. I mean, UConn has a 90% chance to win to Alabama's 9.7. So, I mean, pretty straightforward there. The Purdue NC State game, it's pretty even. The line at minus 8.4, minus 8.5 metrics versus Vegas. So Purdue's the 8-point favorite there. They do have an 80% chance of win to NC State's 19.8. So seems pretty realistic. What's interesting, I did a game comparison of UConn versus Purdue, and based on the metrics, right, from Evan Mia, UConn's the number 1 team, Purdue's the number 2 team. UConn does have a 68.8% win probability, and the line is minus 4.8. So seems like it'll be pretty even.
Yeah.
I was talking to a buddy who is a play-by-play and analyst, and we were pretty much saying like we think that it comes down to, you know, Klingon versus Edey. That's just going to be an incredible matchup. The guard play, I think, is going to be really interesting, just because who do you have guard who? I think it's a game where we see a lot of Cam Heide. I think he's going to have to play just because in place of Fletcher Lawyer. Just because
of how absolutely strong and athletic UConn's team is.
Yeah. I mean, you've got Cam Spencer and Lawyer are pretty evenly matched. And then you've got, I guess no, we'll see a lot of Heide in place of Lance Jones because of the size difference. I mean,
yeah, maybe
UConn's guards are just big compared to Lawyer and
I just worry about like from a Purdue angle, like, you know, Lawyer always impresses me with his ability to just find, you know, like holes in the defense and get to the rim. But I'm not necessarily worried about him offensively, but like defensively, we've seen like Boo Buie just cook him. You know, we've seen people just switch on to him because he's, you know, lankier. He's not, you know, that, you know, tenacious defensive guard, I guess. And he can get cooked by, you know, someone like even Cam Spencer. He's just got such a quick trigger and just loves the trash talk will be next level between those two, though. Like that's gonna be incredible.
They played each other all year last year. Because like the way I see it, like you've got to have Newton and Braden guarding each other. That's a given. I think Newton has the edge, but they're also two walking almost triple doubles, both of them. Like that matchup in itself to me is more fun than the Klingon Edey matchup, just because it's just those two going at it, the two lead guards. And then you got, I mean, I think Jones guards Castle, but that's where the size mismatch comes in. Like Jones has the quickness to keep up with Castle. Castle's got quite a few inches on him. So it's that's where I think Heide would have to come in, just being a little bit of a bigger guard and helping give Jones some extra, you know, rest to be able to keep up with Castle for a full game.
You might see something interesting like a Gillis playing that 3-ish role. You might see an Ethan Morton. You take the not a lot offered offensively and just be like, we need your size, we need your spacing, we need your mind on defense here to take these guards out of it. And
that's true.
So I think like he's a guy who has not seen a lot of time in this tournament, but like he's a guy that I could see getting some time here.
Yep.
And like Matt Painter's obviously a genius. He's gonna put the right guy in the right spot.
Yeah.
But we got to get there first. And I think
Yeah,
Zach
yeah.
Edey handles DJ Burns fine. I think that
I mean,
it'll be an interesting. I think it'll be an interesting matchup. DJ
I think
Burns
if
is going to have to stay out of foul trouble,
I think if yeah,
making it
I think
close
if Burns guards AD straight up, he's going to get 3 fouls in the first 5 minutes.
for sure.
So I think we're going to see a lot of doubling there, just to help alleviate some of that foul trouble.
That's another thing about the UConn Purdue matchup, which fascinates me, is I expect them to, Purdue doubles in the post a lot, on defense. But I expect a lot of just Klingon and Edie just one-on-one, just letting them throw haymakers at each other. And I'm here for it.
Yeah, I
we
think
have to get that matchup.
I think Hurley's gonna, and the reason I wanted to, because I don't know what our plans are if we're gonna go live before the championship. I think we kind of talked about it. It would probably make sense to go live Tuesday after the games are done.
Yeah, maybe we do 2, or I don't know, because
I
I
know we haven't
really
talked
like
about
after
that.
the Final Four. I'd really want to talk about the Final Four.
Yeah,
We could do like a
yeah.
short one.
I know we haven't talked too
Something.
much, but that's why I wanted to talk about some of this matchup, probable matchups type stuff, just based on we haven't really flushed things out. But
Right.
I think NC State Purdue, I think it's going to be fun because DJ Burns has a pretty good mid range. Like,
Yeah.
the dude
Yeah, he
pulls
does.
up from 17 foot, 15 foot.
Yeah, and I think their thing that they're going to be trying to do is probably pulling Edie out and either having him take that mid range, or, getting him, to pass to someone now that Edie's cleared the lane a little bit. But I mean, Purdue is just going to be, just get him out of there, get DJ Burns out of there. Just let him try and guard Edie. Let them try and guard Edie, because it's always a tough cover when you've never played him before. Tennessee and Gonzaga had the pleasure of playing them twice this season, and that didn't work out. But anytime you play Zach Edey in the Purdue for the first time, it is tough.
Yeah. So
good
I'm
matchups.
excited. I'm excited for both of these games on Saturday.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd like to. We'll talk about this more offline, but for the listeners, hopefully we'll have something on Sunday. Probably we might have something later in the week, just to talk about the national championship game, especially if Purdue makes the national championship game.
Yep.
So like, if Purdue doesn't make the national championship game, like, I don't want to think about that, but like, if they don't make it, the odds are a little bit less likely that we do like a midweek episode, just because we won't be talking about an Indiana team. But still on the table. So we'll let you know. We'll communicate that on Twitter and whatnot. And we'll obviously, if we go live on Sunday, or when we go live on Sunday, we will let you know as well. So yeah, I don't really have anything else. I'm excited to dive into some transfer portal stuff once the tournament's over. Obviously, you're going to be seeing people committing. People are saying that they're coming back. We'll just talk about that in the off season. There's so much off season to fill. We'll just go through it all then. Don't really want to take any time away from the tournament because I love it so much.
Yeah, most definitely. With that being said, the clock is showing quadruple zeros, so it's time for us to get out of here. Thanks for checking in with the State of Basketball podcast. We will see you next week. And remember, in 49 states,
it's just basketball.